Hello and welcome to the class. My name's Daniel, and today we're going to be looking at detailed reading. Now, if you have a question after the class, you can go to the top of the screen and click on the chat icon to send us a message. This is the second of two classes and will last around 15 minutes. First, we're going to talk about what matching headings to paragraph questions require, and then we're going to have some practice answering them. So by the end of the session, you'll be more aware of how to answer this type of reading question. Now, during the class, there'll be questions that appear below the video. I'll tell you when you need to answer them, and I'll give you 10 to 15 seconds for each one. But you might want to pause the video to give yourself some more time to answer them. So let's start by looking at what matching headings to paragraph questions involve. So you start with a list of headings marked with Roman numerals like these: I, and IV, etc. And you have to match these to a paragraph. So you have to choose a heading that describes each paragraph. Often you don't need all of the headings. So maybe there's like 6 paragraphs, but you have 10 headings. So that can make it quite difficult because some of the headings sometimes have similar meanings. And it requires you to have a full understanding of each paragraph, because it's not just checking your understanding of one small part of the paragraph. Unlike a lot of other IELTS questions where you just have to find the keywords and see if one sentence is paraphrased, in this one, you actually have to understand the full paragraph and what is the main idea in that paragraph to answer it correctly. And because it's dealing with paragraphs, it covers the whole text. So you're not just looking at part of a text, you're looking at the whole text, and you're having to often jump around the text sometimes. This makes it quite difficult because there's a lot of text to read. So it should really be one of the first questions you try to answer if it's there. As I say, do this question type before the others, because once you've read each paragraph and you understand it, then the questions later will be much easier because you'll go, yeah, okay, I know where that question is. It's in paragraph B or it's in paragraph C. So it's really important, if you have a matching headings to paragraph questions, do it before all other questions. So let's look at the strategy or how to answer this type of question. So the first thing that you need to do is read the headings first. So you look through them and you highlight the keywords. What we mean by keywords are the most important words in the headings. We're going to look at how to do this in a moment. When you've done that, you need to read the paragraphs in detail. We looked at this in class 1. So you're reading the first 2 sentences of each paragraph, the last sentence, and then you're quickly skimming some of the most important words in the middle of the paragraph. So you read the paragraphs in detail. And it's a good idea when you've read each paragraph that you quickly make a note of what you think the main idea of that paragraph is. And this will then help you to match it later to the headings. So as I say, it's good to think, what do you think is the main idea in that paragraph? Once you've got your ideas, then you need to check them with the headings and see which ones match the best to the headings. And it's really important, as I said, you have to get an understanding of the whole paragraph. Don't just look for keywords, because they might be distractors. What I mean by distractors is they might be something that makes you think, yes, this is the correct answer. But actually, the people writing the exam put it there to kind of distract you, to take your attention away from the correct answer. So if you're just looking for keywords, a lot of the time you'll make a mistake. And it's really, really important that you try to get a full understanding of that paragraph that you're reading. So we're going to have a bit of practice now, and we can see here that we've got 4 headings. So we've got the principles behind the language, how the language operates, an increasing interest in the language, and why the language grew more popular. And what we're going to do is just do the first step of the strategy for answering these types of questions. So we said we had to read them and highlight the key words. So what are key words? Well, keywords are nouns and noun phrases for one. For example, here you can see principles is a noun. That would be a keyword. Language is a noun. That would also be a keyword. How the language operates, that would be a keyword. That's another noun. And increasing interest is a noun, so that would be a keyword. And again, language. And then why the language grew more popular. So we've highlighted the nouns there. That's some of the keywords. You'd also want to highlight any verbs or verb phrases. So here we can see the verb operate, and we can see grow as well. So we want to highlight those. Other things that would be considered keywords are adjectives. Now we can see we've just got one adjective here, which is popular or more popular. So we'd want to highlight that as well. Oh, and increasing as well is an adjective here. And then you'd want to highlight any adverbs or adverb phrases. So adverbs are things like how is an adverb and why is also an adverb. And they're really important because look here, how the language operates, that's different to why the language operates. Okay, so the adverbs do make a big difference. So that difference would be like here, we can see in 4, it says an increasing interest in the language and why the language grew more popular. Now, grow more popular and increasing interest, they have the same meaning. But the difference is this one is specifically talking about why it grew more popular, whereas this one is not looking at why. So those adverbs can be very important. Well, let's look at these 2 paragraphs here. Now, what I'd like you to do is to use that detailed reading strategy to get a general understanding for each paragraph. So remember, I want you to read the first 2 sentences of each paragraph, the last sentence, and then just quickly skim the middle bits. Now, I'm going to give you a bit of time to try that now, and then we'll look at them together. We're trying to think, what is the general idea of that paragraph? Okay, so let's have a look together. Well, if we start with this first paragraph, we can see that it talks about the driving force of the language. It also mentions these 2 philosophies of directness in this first sentence. And then it talks about it's a reaction against modern civilization was at the heart of it. And then at the end, it says that belief is hardwired into the language. So it's talking about the main core concept behind the language, the philosophy of the language, if you like, or another word, you could even say the principles of the language. And we can see that just from reading the first 2 sentences here and this last sentence, that this paragraph is all about the main idea behind the language or the philosophy of the language. Now let's look at the second paragraph, or paragraph C. So, well, we can see it's talking about some dates, 2007, and they said there were 100 online fans that could speak the language. And then there was a guide added, and this in 2014, and it increased its exposure. And then finally here it talks about 2017, there were several members that were collaborating, and a library of literature was created, and resources could be found. So it's talking about how it grew, how the language grew or developed. So it started in 2007 and got bigger and bigger and bigger, as we can see here. So again, just by reading those first two sentences, the last one, we can get a general understanding of the whole paragraph. Well, let's now look at which of these headings that we saw before would match up with paragraph B. And what I want you to do is look at the question below the video and choose one of the 4 headings. Okay, well, hopefully you chose this one as the correct one. So remember, we're talking about how it mentioned the philosophies and the driving force and what was at the heart of it and the belief that is hardwired into the language. So belief at the heart of philosophy, driving force, all of these are connected to the principles behind the language. So it's the reason she created it, the principles for it. So that's the correct one for that. Now, just be a bit careful, because if we look here, you've got the word operates in 3, and you've got the word operation. Now, if you're just looking for keywords and you saw operates and you saw operation, you might think, okay, operates, operation, these two go together. And this is an example of a distractor, because if you're just looking for 1 or 2 words, and you're matching it up based on that, you're probably going to get it wrong. So it really is about getting a general understanding of the whole paragraph first before making your decisions. Now let's do the same for this next paragraph. Again, have a little look at the question below the video and see if you can choose the correct option. Okay, well, the correct answer here is this one. So as we said, it talks about the different dates and how the language was becoming more popular. Now, the difference between these is this one says it's why the language grew more popular. Now, nowhere in here does it talk about any reasons why the language was becoming more popular. It doesn't say because this was happening. So it doesn't give any particular reasons for it. It just does say that the language was growing and growing and growing, and giving examples of how it was growing. So 5, this one, is not the correct answer because it doesn't give us enough information to say why. It just is an increasing interest in the language. So that word why was really important to understanding that that's not the correct heading. Okay, if you have any questions, remember you can go to the top of the screen and click on the chat icon to send us a message. Now remember to complete the online training and do the practice activities. Thank you very much for coming to the class. We'll see you again. Bye.